Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Ben, head coach.
And I'm Anya, international marathon runner. And we're proud to be the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide.
We'll be having truly insightful conversation with truly inspirational guests, as well as bringing you tips and tricks for runners of all abilities.
Today on the podcast, we had a hilarious chat with comedian and TV presenter Joel Dommett, who took a deep dive into the world of running through time presenting TV shows where he was thrown into a tribe where he had to run an ultramarathon in flip-flops. Since, he's gone on to run London Marathon for charity just as a giant piranha, and now he's training for a sub-3 marathon or just to beat his best mate and training partner, Harry Judge from McFly. He does all of his training whilst balancing a crazy work schedule and his new family. Enjoy the episode. Hi Joel, how are you?
I am very good, thank you. How are you both? I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to
Runna
have you here.
HQ with two legends.
Yeah, this is our first time recording from our own podcast studio, so we've gone up in the world.
It looks good, man. The lighting is great. The crew look fantastic. It is a wonderful room. Honestly, it's a pleasure to be here.
Last time I saw you was when you were dressed as a piranha at the end of London Marathon.
Yes.
We'll get on to that, but I guess we'll start at the beginning. What got you into health and fitness on day one?
Oh, wow. So I always did love running. In school, running was always my thing. Cross country, that was my thing that I used to do. I wasn't really very good at football or rugby or any of that stuff. Wasn't quite good enough to do, like, I had some friends who were doing, like, they would run for the county and all of that stuff. And, but it was, but not quite good enough to do that. But that was what I liked. I felt like it was the only thing I was better at than anything else. And so, yeah, I just always really loved it. And I really got into fitness probably about 10 years ago or so. I was doing a lot of CrossFit, doing all that sort of stuff, trying my best to get strong. I spent sort of 10 years just trying to get strong. And then about 3 years ago, I went, I think I need to just stop trying to sort of be something that I'm almost certainly not meant to be. And then started running again when my son was born, about sort of a year and a half ago, properly. And I love it. I love it. I just feel like this is what I should have been doing for the last 10 years, really. I really enjoy it. And it sort of gives me that sort of peace of mind, really, when I leave the house and go, which I think sort of being in the gym didn't really do that for me, even though I really enjoyed it in a completely different way. But that's sort of my general fitness route. And then I'd done marathons previously. I'd done lots of little bits and bobs. I did this mad show for Comedy Central. I mean, it's got to be like probably 8 years ago or something now, where it's called Joel and Nish versus the world. It was me and this other comedian called Nish Kumar. We'd go all around the world and do like fitness things. That was basically visiting the fittest communities in the world. And Nish would meet like all of the sort of families, do the more sort of socioeconomic stuff and all of that stuff, the sort of social elements of it. And I would just do all this mad fitness stuff. And we just flew around the world for like 6 months doing this mad stuff. We went to Mexico to run with like these mad long distance runners who would run like 150 miles and it would be absolutely nothing to them. And so I tried to like do that with them in like sandals, and like it was like insane. And we got to the start line, and I was like, we'll be fine. It'll be okay. And I was in their full garb, which was like a weird sort of incredible skirt, white skirt, and like this billowy, beautiful red top. And everyone else was like 60 and wearing jeans. And then they said, oh, how long are you going to do? And they went 30 miles. And so we did that for the TV show. They sort of went 30 miles. We feel like that's enough. And they all laughed because it was so short for them. Because they just do 100 miles all the time. That's what they do. That's how they They're all these ultra marathon runners. Have you read that? Sorry, I keep talking.
Born to Run.
Born to Run. So that's the village that we went to.
Oh, what, the Tarahumara?
Yes.
Oh, nice. I after
Amazing.
not reading, I listened to the audiobook of it. Then Barefoot Ted in that book.
Yes.
He set up a company called Luna Sandals, which make the sandals like they were.
Wow.
And I bought a pair of their sandals. I used to, before Runna, when I was a PT, I'd sometimes turn up to my PT
That's so
clients
interesting.
and run with my clients in the silly sandals, and they used to think I was crazy.
Because the huaraches, they're called, right? It's the sandals. And then the Nike huarache is based on the sandal.
The carbon-plated flip-flop that they've done.
Yeah, they're basically, there's this, it's got like a car tire on the bottom with like a bit of like calf leather. And it's so simple, but it like really like makes you feel really comfortable. And they honestly run hundreds of miles. It's
because
insane.
they're basically just flip-flops with a strap around the heel.
Yes,
just
exactly.
to keep them falling off.
And anyway, it was fascinating. The whole thing was amazing. Did that for ages. And that sort of, ignited my fitness journey again. And I just, it's a real big part of my life to keep me on the sort of straight and narrow. And,
I guess the pressure being a comedian, being in the public eye in the way that you are, having that outlet, whether it was CrossFit and now running, must be so helpful in so many ways.
Well, it really helps me because it gives me a routine every day. So it gives me something to follow. Because every day is so different. Today, doing podcasts and meetings and things like that. Last night I was touring, so I was in Bristol, and then tomorrow I'm filming a TV show, so I'm doing that, and then you start at different times every day. So there's no solid, like, I get up at this time, I go to bed at this time, this is my work day. So my solace, I suppose, is looking at the Runna app, not to plug it, and go, what have I got to do today? And okay, cool, that's what I've got to do today. And fitting that around my life, I think, makes me feel more comfortable, I think. Sort of relaxes me almost, I
Which
suppose.
is crazy. I don't know how training for a marathon makes you feel more comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly doesn't. I'm in this weird point where I feel like I'm halfway through the plan. I'm trying with our friend Harry Judd, trying to run sub 3 this year. And I don't know. I want to ask you so many questions. So many questions.
So with your marathon running,
yes.
So the last year and a half, you've been taking the running more seriously.
Yes.
What's your marathon PB?
My marathon PB was 3 hours 12, and 3 hours 10 on Strava, but apparently you're not allowed to say that. And everyone told me that that's a thing. You learn every time, don't you? And that was what I wanted, basically. So that was good. That's what me and Harry were aiming for. Harry got 3:10, which is great. And then
Which marathon was that?
That was Amsterdam in October.
Nice.
It was really fun. It was really fun just to because London feels like, must be for you as well. It's an amazing. Obviously, the vibe is incredible. It's so brilliant. It's such an incredible course and an event. It's just beautiful, but it also weirdly feels like a lot of pressure because it's kind of your home run. Even though no one expects anything from me, but. You do it for charity, so there's like a lot of pressure that I feel for the charity that I love doing it for.
Yeah.
Whereas something quite nice about going like, I'm just going to go to a different country and pay for it and go and just run it and then come home.
I've said this, like, if I'm in a foreign country running a marathon, I get to 30k and I'm like, okay, I'm almost there. I can finish this. I get to 30k in London and I look around and I'm like, that's the bloody O2. And I know how far away the O2 is from central London. And it's something that I'm not almost done.
Yeah. London's such a mad one where like, when you're running it, you go like, I must be heading back into town soon. I must be heading back into town soon. And then you keep going further and further away. And then you're like, no. But it's fascinating. So when you saw me dressed as a giant fish, I was in a hell of a state.
So tell us about why you did a marathon as a big fish.
So I host this show called Masked Singer on television, and the whole of the season last year, I was watching it going like, I think I want to run the London Marathon in one of these costumes. I was trying to figure out which one would be best to do it in, and then it happened that the Piranha won, and I was like, I think that costume is the best one to do it. Then I had to persuade the producers that it was going to be okay, because they were petrified that I was going to die in their fish. And so they were like, I had to sort of persuade them that it's like, it's going to be okay, I'm going to be all right. And I've done marathons before. I didn't realize how different it was going to be. And then we kept on visiting the people who make the costumes, which are incredible. And you realise why the costumes that a lot of these people run in are quite thin, are quite sort of like light, and they're not. Whereas this costume is made to look incredible on telly. It's not made to be run in. And I was like, well, it's because it's thick. It's like the walls of it, I would say, are probably sort of 2 inches thick, like felt inside. So it's hot. There's no real breathe. You can see through the mouth, but you can't. I couldn't breathe. And the worst thing was, so we went to the start line. It was all good. Had this fish. It weighed about I think it was about 6 kilos. So like, again, that doesn't really weigh a lot when you pick up 6 kilos, but over 26 miles, you're like,
Could you move your arms inside it?
No. So I had
to carry it.
Fins. So I would put my hands in the fins. And again, I tried to sort of figure out the best technique with it, which changed throughout the marathon. But I started running without my hands in the fins, but my hands inside the main body and then right in front of me. So I ran the whole thing like this with my little hands at the front, holding it up. And then that became really uncomfortable because I was like so shrugged. So then I put my hands in the fins and then basically lifted up the whole costume and then just ran like this.
Had you practiced like with it on?
I did, but not really. Because I went down and I ran... I mean, I'm probably going to say half a mile in it. And I was like, I got the idea of it, but I was like, I don't really feel like if I ran 10 miles in this, first of all, it's embarrassing. I'm dressed as a fish.
Can you imagine just doing like laps of Battersea Park
yeah,
in the fish in like February?
Exactly. Yeah. I get mugged. I think
you might get like locked up in a
mental asylum. Yeah. So it was really hard. And then the worst part was, I had the fish, went there, and so it was at the start line, all ready to go. And I was walking to the start line, and it had this strap that basically was attached to, like, it was like on a big backpack. It's attached to the roof of the fish. So it's sort of holding the fish up, basically. It was like this, so it basically made sure that it was above your head here. So when Danny Jones was in that costume on Masked Singer, when he takes off the costume, his head's then in a perfect space for when they take off the head bit.
Okay.
And walking to the start line, and this strap just snapped. And so it went from being, half a foot above my head to being on my head. So the whole costume just like went dudunt. And I said to my friends, I was like, oh, no, it's broken. They were like, oh, what? Is there anything we can fix? And we looked at it and we were like, it's just completely snapped, this strap. And so then it just changed the whole thing because it was then on my head, and I could you can see in the interview of me at the London Marathon at the end, my head's here and the fish is like on my head. And so I spent 26 miles just hitting me on the head like this, every single step, just hitting my head. And it like the felt inside was like hitting the top of my head like this. And I was like, it's fine for like 10K or something. I was like, it's okay, I can deal with that, it's okay. And then at the half marathon part, I was like, this is really horrible. And then I looked down at one point because it was hitting the front of my head like this. And there's like this little shelf below me. And there was a little pile of my hair.
Oh, no.
Where the felt was like hitting my head and just knocking, like just pulling my hair out. So I was like, I'm going to get to the end of this marathon. I'm going to be bald in a weird place. Yeah, and because it kept on going over. So I was shrugging more and more. And the pain then started at the top. And it just really started to go down my back. And so it was like more painful on my shoulders than my legs, really. And then I look at like videos of me running, man, and like I started off at the pace I wanted to. I was trying to do a 4 hour. I remember running with you then.
You ran past, I was at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
You ran past. I was like, you are flying. You're off for a great time. And then at the halfway point, you go around the Isle of Dogs.
Yeah.
And then you come back at about 23 miles, 22 miles. You're really on the home straight.
Yeah.
And you took ages. And I was like, I can't have missed you because you were a big fish.
Yeah.
And then I saw you, and it's just ever so slightly uphill at the point I was, and you look like you were at a different... It was like someone got out the fish and someone else got in the fish.
Yeah. I mean, I wish someone did, to be honest. It was It was so tough.
Did you consider that? There's that like tunnel just before the end.
Yes.
You could have just swapped back in.
I should have swapped. There's that weird tunnel. I love that tunnel because it's obviously a really hard part of the marathon, and there's so many people walk through that tunnel.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because they think it's the only chance.
No crowd.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's like,
Tell me about you. I want to hear about you. You don't want to hear about me.
This is
What's
about
going
me.
on?
This isn't about me.
Your story is so incredible. I know you've told it a million times. Have you got any tips for me doing a 3-hour marathon?
What is the next one with a fish on your head?
It's without fish.
Well, I think you're going to
fish.
smash it. I think you'll smash it. You've been doing all the training. I've seen it.
Yeah, my friend Harry, and you'll know this, is so into Strava. Like he is Stravaed right up, and I just feel really embarrassed to like let people know what I'm doing. Like I feel really. Do you like? I feel he keeps going like I think he's very competitive, so he's like, put your stuff on Strava, and I'm like, I get really embarrassed because I keep it all really private. And also, I keep it private because I always forget to stop my watch at the end. I don't want people to know that I'm just like walking around my house for the last 10K. But I don't know.
I do that. Or I swim and I just like get out of the pool and just pretend to be swimming, like walking to the changing rooms and take that as extra distance. Because I'm quicker walking than I am swimming.
Yeah, it's a good shout. That's a good shout.
But yeah, so London Marathon is your next one.
Yes.
Are you racing, Harry?
We're not racing. Because he's just brilliant. I mean, I feel like it's very rare that you can find a friend who's a genuinely lovely person that you can do nice long runs and easy runs with at the same pace. Like we really genuinely are at the same pace and at the same place and similar age as well. We've both got families, so we understand that it's hard to sort of juggle things around a family. And so I'm really excited to run with him in London. And
so the plan is to set off together and run together?
Fingers crossed, yeah. We lost each other in Amsterdam, maybe about sort of 30, maybe a bit before 28K, something like that. But I just feel like you learn so much from every event that I feel like I'm learning so much more about fueling. I'm learning so much more about, setting yourself up, knowing what you're going to wear and how you're going to do it, and visualization. And, I don't know. I'm learning also. I know nothing compared to you guys, but I just really, I feel like I'm soaking it all in as much as I can.
And are you doing it for charity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do it for charity this year as well.
What charity is that?
Which is going to do it for brain tumour support this year, which is a great charity that really helped my wife and her mum when she had a brain tumour and a stroke. So it's just it's a really nice way of in our industry. The money is really important, but I think bringing some visibility to smaller charities, I think also is a really nice thing. And London Marathon is such a massive part of that for so many great charities. Yeah. So it's really good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So with your training with Harry,
yes,
who's winning the workouts?
He's weirdly, so I need to talk to you about this. So I always want to text you about my plan sometimes and go like, oh God. So I'm doing 3 sessions a week. And I'm doing 3 sessions a week and then 2 strength sessions a week. And that feels like it sort of fits well for me. I really try to keep up with it. Sometimes I slip a little bit and then I end up just losing a week somewhere. But generally I've been sticking to it. And I've pretty much actually kept my mileage. I decided this year, this time to keep my mileage up from Amsterdam. I obviously had a bit of rest afterwards. But I hate that sort of thing of going back down to like lower mileage and then bringing it back up, and then suddenly like 17K feels so long again. Whereas I just sort of kept it up, and now I sort of kept it at 20, and the Runna program kept me sort of going like, go and do a 20 now, and actually felt really fun. And this meant that this block I've really enjoyed doing long runs more than I ever have. Which has been really brilliant. Like it's really changed my training, and it's such a cliche, but I've started running without like music and things like that, and that really changed it for me because I just feel like it just feels so much shorter now instead of having to feel like I've got something in my ears. This was a Harry thing actually. The other day I did a 26 and it was really nice. It was really fun. And Harry was like, oh, whenever I'm struggling towards the end, that's when I put music on. And I'd never done that before. And so I kept it in my ready to put on if I needed. And I was like, I did the 26, and the last 5K I put music on. I hadn't run it for ages with music. And I was honestly one of my favorite runs I've ever done. I've just put some great tunes on, and I've never had the last 5 before in a long run just be like, yeah, and I was like shouting and singing, having the best time.
That's really great. London Marathon this year.
That's what I'm doing. Do you when it's a professional standard, are you allowed any things like that?
Not in races. You're not actually allowed music and things.
Yeah, I thought that.
But yeah, I have songs playing over in my head.
Yeah.
Do you have any hideous training stories? Or is every run as good as that?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, there's a lot of them are absolutely horrible. Last year when I learned so much more every single time.
Yeah.
Last year when I was doing the training for Amsterdam, it was like in the heat of summer, you're training. So it's just so, and again, having a young baby is like, you just take, whenever you can go out, you go for it. And at the time he would sleep from 1 till 3. So as soon as 1 o'clock, put him to bed, and I'd just go out for my long run. And then if it's hot, you have to deal with it. It's just really hot. And I didn't really know anything about how to feel for those runs and things like that. Even though I'm probably still very naive to it, but I would just like being in the Piranha suit, just go out absolutely fine, having an absolutely wonderful time, really far away from my house, and suddenly just boo. And I was supposed to be out for 2 hours for a long run, and I'd get back after 3.5, and my wife was like, "Where the hell have you been? I thought you died." And I was like, "No, I just absolutely crashed halfway." This in the Mexico thing when I was running for that TV show. It was 30 miles, and not like up and down hills, and I'm not talking hills, I'm talking like mountains, climbing like Spider-Man up, and they would just run down them at the most insane pace, like on like the steepest slope, and you're like, how did he get down there so quick? Incredible people. But they had this energy drink that there was sort of a natural energy drink that they would use, which had something in that they would sort of harvest, and they showed us how to do it, and they gave it to me to have before the race, and I, with Nish, my friend, downed it, thinking I was going to give me loads of energy. I thought it'd be really funny, and I'd be like, yeah. And they all looked like, what are you doing? And I was like, the energy is going to give me the energy for this run. And they're like, no, you're supposed to sip it. And I was like, oh, what? They're like, you're literally supposed to have the smallest bit of it. This is going to be bad. And so basically I had this white skirt on that was like the natural thing. About 30 minutes in, I properly shat myself.
On television.
On television. It was awful. And then I had to run another 25 miles up and down some things in a white skirt. I'm running up and down these things. And then
did you get a kick of energy at least, or did you just get all the poo with no benefit?
I think I had all the poo, no benefit, which is my new podcast that will be releasing soon. I just felt zero. My energy was draining out of it. I was just like, I was like hallucinating. It was the worst. It was just being overtaken by 60-year-old men in jeans. Like, it was mad. And sandals.
Oh my God.
That was what, it was it was really bad. Bad.
But you did run 30 miles.
Yeah. And then it was like a 5-mile loop or something like that. And so every time at the end of the 5 miles, you'd run through this amazing little beautiful town, like village, I suppose, and everyone would cheer us all on, and all the sort of village. It was honestly the most incredible experience. And every time I ran through, probably after the first 3, I would just cry my eyes out every time. And then I got to the end, I just couldn't stop crying. For every marathon I've ever done, I've cried at the finish line. It just makes me so emotional.
Yeah.
Do you find the same?
Oh my God, yeah. And when I pass my parents are crying their eyes out.
Oh my God.
I'll cry my eyes out. I bet if you see your kids on the side, you'll be in floods of tears.
This is a mad one, because London this year is the first year where my son is old enough to be there. And so, because when I did London last year, he was probably only 3 months old or something like that, maybe 6 months. So it kind of wasn't worth it. Whereas this, oh my God, again, goosebumps thinking about it. Just the idea of crossing that finish line and him being there is just, and my wife as well, because my wife obviously has to look after Wild. So it's, I'm really excited for that, I think. That's going to keep me going.
That your son will like grow up knowing that, it's so normal to run and like you don't want to go on every run, and you can be like, I'm so nervous for this marathon. He's seen you go through that, and you don't have to be the best at everything, and you can still do it. And it's really great
and I think,
message.
Sport in general is just so important for children and for it's so lovely. Just we've got this lovely we've turned our gym into like this little garage. It's about the size of this room, but it's just like a really nice space for us to like go in there. And he like tries to work out. We've got these little plastic weights for him, and he like works out. He just literally just copies you, And I can't wait to go on like our first run together when he's like however old children start running.
I think that's like just the amazing thing about being a young dad, is that then you can live as a healthy man for a longer period of your son's life.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm 40 this year, so I've started to train differently, I suppose, and I'm now like looking for, I know marathons aren't a perfect example of that, but I'm trying to sort of work out the best way to sort of do it with recovery and make sure that I can, listen to my body more than I used to, and I used to just absolutely destroy myself and then go out and do another workout the same day or whatever. But now it's would you knowing from programming for people, knowing that sort of stuff, how would you say when training changes for like a 40-year-old?
Well, I could actually tell you about an interesting feature that we're launching in the Runna app.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about.
So there's something new that we're launching in the app, which is gradually getting rolled out at the moment. So some of our customers will have access to it. Probably by this time this episode launches, hopefully everyone will. It's what we call training preferences. So you'll be able to customize your intensity and your mileages to independent things. So you would be able to reduce the intensity of your speed sessions. Or you could even, inside your plan, reduce the frequency of doing intervals and tempos. You can make the intervals and tempos slightly shorter relative to your long runs. And you can also customize it for your own personal preference of what you enjoy. So you could have less of your long runs with pace targets, or you could have more of your long runs with pace targets, but then they are easier targets to hit. So giving customers more control for what they enjoy, but ultimately as someone gets older, we do need to be mindful that like their body will take longer to recover from the same load. So doing less intensity can be helpful. Because also I think like the most important thing for you and your running, as you think ahead for the next 20 or 30 years of running, the key is that you love it. And if your training is so intense, and to try and schedule that in around your work, your family life, to the point where actually can't do it anymore, stop doing marathons, that's not good. It's much better for us as coaches if we can make sure that your marathon training is sustainable around all those things, and you'll be doing great marathons in 5 or 10 years time.
So true.
And so with that in mind, like for everyone setting up their plan, it's doing A, what's best for them, but it's also B, what's sustainable for them to do it long term and also enjoy it. So tweaking some of those things can be really helpful. But I guess also directly to your question, prioritizing your sleep is probably the best. And I think also like the effect of stress, which isn't something physical as such, but the effect of stress on your physical body is just so significant.
It's insane.
And so with that in mind, being able to adjust your training around your stress, being able to go through phases of training where you're actually happier to push a bit harder when you know work's going to be a bit lighter, and trying to see if you can start to sync those two things up a little bit more so that you don't have your biggest show the week before your marathon.
God, that's not even, don't get me started on that. This is the worst. The night before the London Marathon, I'm gigging in Leeds. Well, and I didn't even think about it. So I'm in Leeds, so I've got to decide whether either to finish the show, get in a car, come down and stay in the hotel in London, or stay in Leeds, get up early, sleep in the car on the way down.
Well, Kipchoge, when he did sub 2 hours, he said he slept for like 2 hours.
Really? That's what I'm going to think about.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Annie, but I would probably, if it were me, I'd go to bed immediately after the show in Leeds.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And then get up early with a taxi and you can hire the fastest taxi driver there is.
Yeah.
And then eat your breakfast on the move.
Yeah.
And that way you're actually getting time
Control
to
that.
get your breakfast going, get your toilet trip sorted, and actually on the start line you'll be wide awake,
Because
ready
then
to
I
go.
don't need to waste any of that time of
Faffing.
going to the start line and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just stay in Leeds right next to the thing. I don't know. This has gotten into real logistics of my marathon on this podcast, guys. I'm so sorry. This is so boring to everybody.
Okay, well, last question before we move on to our sillier second half.
Okay.
If you were a betting man,
Oh.
who's going to win? You and Harry.
Oh, stop
and,
it.
And what time are you going to run?
Well, this is what's really interesting because
And he may well listen to this, so this is where you need some fighting talk.
love you, Harry. Big fan of all your songs. Look, Harry's been doing what is very interesting actually. Harry's been doing a slightly different program on the Runna app. By the way, all of this mentions of the Runna app. I'm not here to mention the Runna app. I'm not saying it because I'm here on this podcast. It's unbelievable. It's completely changed my life. I think it's an unbelievable app run by brilliant people. And I've also met a lot of people independently who say exactly the same thing. It's just really, really great. And so he's doing one which is I think he's doing 4 or 5 runs a week. So he's got way more runs, but they're much shorter to get the mileage. So my runs are much longer, but we're doing the same sort of mileage. I think we're doing about sort of 55, 60k a week, 55 or 57 a week or something like that. So I don't know. Again, it's one of those mad things, isn't it? There's so much at play. You can put all of the training and do absolutely everything, and you could have like this weird injury, or you can like eat at the wrong time, or like something could just happen. The weather could be weird. I don't know. Like there's a million things that can go on.
I think what you're doing with your running and what you're doing with Harry is, I think, what makes running so fantastic. It's the same thing about parkrun. Like parkrun is just as fantastic for the people who run 15 minutes and win it, and they're neck and neck. And the people who are doing their first one and trying to get round the whole course.
Yeah.
People who are trying to break 30 minutes for the first time. And like what you're doing, you're prioritizing your training the right way. You're doing all these same things that give you the same feelings, whether you're doing and you're trying to be the fastest woman there is, or you and Harry jostling for that. And I think that's what makes running so fantastic, is it's the same thing for wherever you are on that spectrum of the journey. And I think you're in a completely different place to where you were a few years ago, and also it makes you think where you'll be in a few years from now.
Well, that's the mad thing with me, really, is that like I said, I started running when my son was born 1.5 years ago, properly again, and then and I just started with 5Ks because that's all the time you have when you have a newborn. You're just like, I'm going to pop out for 20 minutes and go for a run and do all that stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because I used to be able to run like an 18-minute 5K back in the day. So I was like, oh, I'll see if I can get back up to that. And then just started running, and then got a sub 20, and I was like, okay, cool, got a sub 20. I was like, there was a 10K, so I was like, I'll try and do a 10K. Why is there? And I'd done a sub 40 when I was younger, so I was like, well, maybe I could do a sub 40 when I'm like almost 40. That'd be like a fun thing to do. Did it, got sub 40, and I was like, okay, cool. And then Harry was like, do you want to do London? And I was like, yes, yes. And then so we applied for that and did all that, and then I decided to do it as a fish. It was absolute error. But yeah, and so it's interesting, like you say, you start off little and then you go further and further. I do think I'm going to sort of let marathons lie after this one, just because it just does, it just sort of consume you a little bit. And I really do love 10Ks. I think that's such a lovely, just a lovely distance.
Well, you know what you're going to have to do then? You have to really push that last few K, because if you do 3 hours and 1 minute, I'm quite sure you'll do another marathon.
Oh no, that's the problem.
That's so true.
Also the problem is like, I had this conversation with Harry where I was like, yeah, but like if I get 3 hours 1, I'll be really happy. And you can't go into the marathon with that mindset, because that's all you think about in the last 10K. Do you know what I mean? You'll go, oh, I said 3 hours 1 will be fine, so I'm just going to run 3 hours 1 instead of going for it and getting 2:59.
You've got it.
Oh my God, if I do it, I'll be so happy. But I don't want to put this pressure on myself. But
You're going to be carb loading at Leeds midway through.
Midway through, yeah, exactly. I'd love to get a proper carb loading program from you guys.
We'll sort something.
I don't know whether I did it right or wrong last in Amsterdam, But I woke up on the day of the marathon and my face was twice the size. I woke up and I'd just basically been eating bread and pancakes and everything for the last 2 days. I'd made a sort of thing where for every meal, I basically have 2 meals. And so I just had so much. And I really got into it. I was like, this is amazing. What a life. And then honestly, when I woke up on that day of the marathon, my chin looked insane. Like, it looked insane. I was like, I need to do a marathon to burn all this off, man. It was great. I just looked like Shrek.
Yeah, so maybe don't kind of commit to the carb load quite so much.
Quite so much. I think I enjoyed it slightly too much. I think I probably put on an extra couple of kilos.
You've got that to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to segue over to Steph with our coaching tip of the week.
Go, Steph.
My top tip today is on race kit. We want to look good and feel good in our race kit, but we really want to make sure it's comfortable and breathable. Painful chafing is the worst thing to get in a race. Like you do with your race nutrition, practice your race outfit in the few weeks leading up to your race to make sure it's really comfortable and there's going to be absolutely no issues.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with our discussion for the day. Is running more about physical fitness or mental strength?
Oof.
What do you reckon, Joel?
It's a really good question. I mean, obviously the answer to that is both. I think all sort of sport generally is, if you're sort of trying to do it at that sort of not upper echelon, but trying to push yourself, I suppose it sort of takes some form of mental fortitude. It's, I find it really fascinating, the different types of like mental strength that it takes. Like when you try and beat your 5K, that's sort of like, just keep going. It's like a real strong, like, yeah, not long left. This is painful, but go. Compared to the marathon, like 30K in, like, come on, just another half an hour, like really horrible longevity of it. It's a different place in the brain of hurt, So, I'd say it's probably 50-50, I'd say. But like,
I think to improve takes consistent mental effort. As in, like, to be able to do a 3-hour marathon one day, you need to be consistently running for weeks and months and years. Like, to do that is mental strength, which then leads to you being physically strong enough to do it.
It's true.
Whereas, like, no matter how mentally strong you are, if you had the body you had a year and a half ago when you just started running, no matter how strong you are, if you are as strong as the hardest geezer or whatever it is, like, you couldn't run a sub 3-hour marathon that day. You don't have the physicality for it. So I think you need the mental strength to build the physical, and then you have both. Is my like interpretation, but obviously it's both. What do you think's more important?
Well, I think once you have your foundations of running, it is mental. If you don't believe you can do it, you won't do it.
That's
so you
what I
have
think's
to
important.
believe you can do it.
Yeah.
And then someone once said to me, like, if you say you can't do it, or you just genuinely believe you can't do it, there's as much truth in that as if you said, I can do it, because both are hypothetical. So just believe you can do it and like work on that side of your brain.
Yeah, I think that belief is unbelievably important. It's like less important at the start of the race than it is halfway through, because all that negativity, it's like your brain is constantly telling you that you can't do it, and you've got to have that side that goes, you might as well do it. Like, come on, do it. It's amazing how your brain just tries to give you as many exit strategies as possible when you're like in that really hard place, whichever sort of length of run you're doing.
Yeah.
I find I'm really getting fascinated with it now, how to beat that.
Yeah.
Which I never really thought about. I never really knew anything about before. The music at the end, which I know is not allowed when you're a professional. But things like that, and just sort of finding those ways to enjoy yourself. Like, I used to really find it a struggle in those long runs when you didn't have music or when you were running with anyone or anything like that. But now I just sort of zone out and just do that counting thing. And I used to have to really think about the counting thing, like 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 100 and start again. I used to just do. I'm really thinking about it now. I just feel like I kind of just do it anyway. I just think
maybe that's just because you got better at counting.
I think I've got better at counting. Worse at running, better at counting. That's what's happening. The whole thing is absolutely fascinating. You'll notice by today, like my socks don't match my outfit. I've got very bright socks on. So have you, actually, which is nice. Yeah. Not to say it doesn't match your outfit.
It doesn't.
But so after I go to another meeting after this, and I've worn my cheapest clothes because timing wise for me today, I'm going to go to my next meeting, and then I've got a tote bag with all my running stuff in it. And so I've got all my trainers, I've got my hat, I've got my little belt with my gels in, I've got a bagel I got from Sainsbury's local. And
are you going to leave your shoes in a bush? Your clothes in a bush somewhere?
Yeah, so I'm just going to take my clothes off at the meeting and leave them, and then just run home. Because I've got to do my long run. And if I get home, by the time I get home, I could have done half of my long run.
That's commitment.
So I've just got to just do it, because it's the only time I can do it.
Well, if you're listening and you're making excuses where you get your long run in, just take your old clothes, put them in a bag, dump them in a bush, and then just run home.
Just run home.
I love that.
Clothes in a bush and go.
Okay, right. Well, on that note, let's keep up the pace. We don't want to eat into your long run time. So, right, we're going to move on to our little bats.
Yeah.
Would you rather
run
a marathon in a Piranha outfit again, or do a triathlon?
Ooh.
But you have to wear mermaid tail as your legs, like they have in the kind of theme parks?
Oh, that'd be quite fun. I've never done a triathlon, so I do. It does intrigue me, but I think I should give my wife a bit of a rest from my long training. But I'd say I'd rather run the London Marathon in Piranha again, because I think I could do it better if I did it again.
Okay, and maybe just make sure you got that strap working.
Yeah. Get the strap fixed,
and then maybe like a helmet and a bit of like, something to protect the hair.
You know how everyone like buys the photos afterwards? They're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." The photos of me, man, they are not pretty. They are not pretty.
That's funny. Okay, next one. We've been talking about Harry.
Yes.
We've been talking about the 3-hour marathon.
Yes.
Would you rather in London get 3 hours and 1 second, but you beat Harry, or 2:59.59, but you lose to Harry?
Oh, 2:59 lose to Harry.
What? Because then you both did the sub 3.
Yeah. See, this is why I like hanging out with Harry. He's a lovely man, and also he's unbelievably competitive, and I'm really not competitive. I'm competitive with myself. I really like. That's why I genuinely love the idea of sports and fitness in general, but just running, because it's such a simple thing of like, I want to beat this time. It's just an easy. It's such an easily understandable thing to sort of pit yourself against. So I'm definitely going against the clock. I'm not going against Harry.
Okay.
Nice. Although he would almost certainly say differently.
Okay. Last one. You can only have one of these two for the rest of your life. Would you rather be able to have steak and sweet potato mash?
I love that.
Or a cheese and ham toastie?
Man, both are such good options. Both are such good options. I'd say steak and sweet potato mash, because that's got a lot of sustenance in it. That's got everything you need. Bit of carbs, bit of protein, bit of ham and cheese toastie. I absolutely love, but you know that it's not going to be great for your midline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That could be the difference between the 3:01 and the 2:59.
That is it. Says a man who's got a bagel in a bag. I've literally gone to Sainsbury's. It was so dry.
Okay, and our final question. We'd like to ask everyone. You are designing your dream race.
Yes.
So you need to tell us, how long is it? Where is it? What's the food and drink at the finish line? And who is giving out the award?
Look, I would say quick fire. Come on. Stop getting too into it. I know it's mental, but I think I am going to pick marathon.
You said 10K was your favourite.
I know, but if it's in your perfect place, then you want it to be longer. You know what I mean? So and it's somewhere where I've always wanted to run, somewhere like Hawaii. I know you guys went on a trip to Hawaii, like somewhere beautiful like that, where you're just like, oh my God, this is the most incredible, beautiful place. Sorry to get distracted again, but when I was training for London, I think in 2014, I did it. I was doing that show with Nish, and so I'd do all my training runs in all the different countries I'd go to. So every time we would land in a different country, I'd do a long run, and those were the runs that I really remember. Just like getting to this random island and running around the island like 4 times to do like 20k or whatever. And so I'd love to do something like that, run somewhere like that, and I would do it. So I'd do that distance, that thing, and what was the third question?
Food and drink.
Food and drink.
At the finish line.
Like your celebratory meal.
My food and drink, yeah.
Ham and cheese toast?
I know. You know what I'm going to go for? A Five Guys.
Fair.
Because it's so many calories.
Yeah.
And it's so delicious. But you don't allow yourself to have it normally. And that I love that feeling like that you deserve it. You know, at the end.
And are you having it with a milkshake?
And I'm going to have it with a milkshake,
Nice.
the Biscoff one that's got a bit of strawberry in
Yum.
it. It's absolutely delicious. And my family are going to meet me at the finish line.
And
That's the
who
main
is
thing.
putting the medal around your neck?
Yes, my son is going to put the medal around my neck. And it's quite a weird thing when you have your medals. Obviously, they don't really mean anything, whereas you guys got ones which actually mean something. But the medals that you have, like, I sort of put them in the garage or whatever and put them away. And when Wild, our son, was born, I thought, oh, maybe he'll like playing with these because they're like shiny and fun and make like fun noises. So I put them all in his toy box, and it's quite nice because he like plays with them and puts them out. So it's like given them like a purpose, I suppose, that's like other than just being like hung on the back of a door somewhere. I quite like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Joel. It's been amazing to chat to you, and good luck at London.
Thank you very much. I'll see you there if not before.
Well, and if you ever need any help on a long run or a speed session, just hit us up and we'll be very keen to join you in between your bagels and getting changed in a bush.
If anyone fancies running 26k home with me, then feel free. Let's do this.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you for having me.
Today's podcast is powered by Runna. Runna is the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. And whatever your running goal, whether you're looking to do your first 5K, improve your time over the 10K, or even run a marathon or an ultra marathon, we'll build you the personalized training for you to help you get there and enjoy the process along the way. If you want to download the Runna app, you'll get 2 weeks for free with code podcast25. And if you're already a Runna customer, you can head to the premium offers section where we've got a 15% off discount for you off any of our Runna merchandise.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, subscribe. And if you loved it, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. See you then.